Hey guys, it's Lawrence here, and just a quick word from me before we get into today's episode. Today is episode 508 with the Million Dollar Trainer, Pete Cerqua. And today we talk about something a little bit different, although it's still about money because it's Pete, obviously. And we talk about how do you operate your strength training business from a position of strength financially. So we talk a lot about money management, how to invest money, how to come up with a backup plan. And of course, this is all our own opinions. And so with that, I must share a quick disclaimer. The information shared in this podcast is for information and educational purposes only and does not constitute financial advice. The views expressed are personal opinions, of course, and should not be considered as recommendations for your specific situation. Always consult with a qualified financial advisor before making any financial decisions. So I love doing this podcast with Pete, as always. I think it's going to be super useful and interesting to you, but it's just our personal opinion and does not constitute as financial advice. Now enjoy the episode. This is 508 with Pete Cerqua. Lawrence still here, and welcome back to High Intensity Business, your one-stop shop for growing your hit business and fueling your passion for high-intensity training. Today, we welcome back the Million Dollar Trainer, Pete Cerqua. And for those that don't know, Pete has built a personal strength training business doing $1.2 million in revenue per year. And today, he's now helping others to do the same. Pete, welcome back to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Lawrence. It's always great to be here.
Likewise. And I'm really excited about the topic today. We both like talking about money. And the topic today is how to operate your strength training business from a position of strength financially.
Yes. That's one of my favorite topics is money. My second favorite topic is money. My third favorite topic is money. But yeah, in general, I like a little bit of money. I thought this would be a different approach for us today and a little different way of going about it. In my coaching, I talk about operating from a position of strength. And I'll give you an example. Sometimes trainers ask me, hey, P, when do I raise my rates? And I tell them when you get to your session goal. So let's say you're looking to get to 60 sessions a week and you get there. Now it's got to be 60 completed in the week. Not 60 on the books. There's a big difference, right? Because if you have 60 on the books and only 40 show up every week or 45, that's very common. But if you're doing 60 and you have 80 on the books, then my advice is you're operating from a position of strength. For the next 10 clients that come in, they get a new rate, $10 more a session. If they say no, that's too expensive. Well, who cares? You're still doing your 60. You've met your goal. You're making a lot of money. Everything is good. Because you have this attitude of, I don't care if you sign up or not. This is my rate. I'm getting very, very busy. They usually sign up.
Right.
Operating from a position of strength. We're going to talk today about operating from a position of strength financially. So we're going to add another layer to this.
Yeah. Excited. Please continue.
I want to talk about how our hit businesses can be related to professional athletes. And I'm going to give you a specific example today of the NBA. And more specifically, one of my favorite players, Julius Erving, otherwise known as Dr. J, and Charles Barkley, who's not one of my favorite players. But these two guys, so when Charles Barkley got his NBA contract, his first contract, and it was big and it was lots of money, and he was living the NBA lifestyle very, very quickly, Dr. J pulled him aside and had a chat with him. Julius Erving is a very smart man, besides a wonderful athlete. And he asked Charles right up front, Charles, how many cars do you own now? And Charles responded, 6. And he said it in a way as if 6 is what I'm having today. I'm probably going to have 8 or 10 by next month. You know, he's in the accumulating phase, in spending and accumulating phase. And Julius Erving turned around and said, well, how many can you drive at one time? And Barkley said, well, obviously only one, but I could drive a different one every day. And Dr. J said, well, that's ridiculous. He said, let me tell you something about this business. The money that you just made, the contract that you just signed, has to last you forever. Okay. So if you spend it now and then you don't play after 10 years, you're going to be like many, many NBA athletes, football athletes, baseball athletes, broke. And there's so many, Lawrence, there's so many stories out there about phenomenal athletes who went to Super Bowls and World Series and NBA titles who died broke. Holy cow. Sobering. There's so few that actually get these contracts. I mean, it's 0.1% of the whole world or less that actually get into the league, make money, and then they spend it all improperly and they go broke. This meant something to me. So I developed a plan for myself. But just a little bit more on this. I believe that there are a limited number of productive years in a high intensity business. And I'm going to give you a hard number, 10. I think you have 10 phenomenal years once you crack the code and figure it out. Now, does that mean business is going to tank on the 11th year? No, you're going to have ups and downs like every single business out there. So the money that you make when business is good has to last you not only through the tough times, but has to also last you through your retirement. I mean, you're not going to do this forever, are you? Some people say they are.
Right.
And their intentions are good, but that doesn't mean they can or they will. Now, I talked to a gentleman that you know very well just yesterday, who's 81 years old and is still building his business and showing no signs of slowing down. But in our community, Lawrence, you know this as well as I do. He's in the minority. He's the 1%er. We don't have a lot of 81-year-olds that look as great as he does and are like planning out his next 10 years of business. So, everybody else is, well, maybe like me. I retired from personal training when I was 50 years old.
Yeah, it's interesting because there are a few that come to mind, names that come to mind of people that are in their later years who don't seem to be slowing down, who love every second. A lot of us know these people in the strength training world, but it is probably a selection bias, right? Or like a survivorship bias, because for every one of those, there's many who maybe they just stopped being interested in it, or, they just maybe got tired of it or wanted to change, or maybe they were, like you say, they have external forces. I know COVID was hard on a lot of business owners. Some people saw that as, maybe people who were later on in their careers kind of saw that as almost an opportunity or a reason to stop. And that's okay if as long as they weren't, didn't have the desire to keep going and weren't kind of just like giving up. But yeah, so I tried to stay aware of not everyone has that sticking power or frankly wants to keep doing it that long,
Well, and you could look at it two other ways. One way is that imagine doing over 100 sessions per week, like I did. There's a burnout factor. There's a point in time where you just don't want to do it. I mean, I accumulated over 150,000 sessions in a very short period of time relatively to a business. Okay, so there's burnout. And at some point there's like, okay, I really don't want to do this. And I don't want to go to the next level of multiple locations and franchising and stepping back because it had its headaches and I didn't want them.
But that is one route, isn't it? Building to sell. And that's the same for any business, right?
Yes.
If you build to sell, that is also another kind of backup plan, but comes with additional challenges.
Yes, absolutely. That's that is definitely another way to go. And another way to look at this is, well, what if I paced myself? What if I was only doing 20 or 30 sessions per week and making a very modest income? Could you do that forever? Yeah, you probably could. If I was doing 25, 30, 40 sessions a week, I'm paying my bills. I'm living very modestly. It's better than working at Home Depot or any other kind of job you can get. It's more money, less time. It's healthier on my body. Could I do it until I'm 81 or 91? Yeah, I probably could have.
Yeah. There's quite a few of those, actually. You're making me think of a lot of people that have joined our communities recently. Some of them have that goal where they're like, I want to be done by noon. And the cool thing is in our business, you can make a lot of money and be done by noon. Right? You're charging good money for 30-minute productive strength workouts. And yeah, you make a good point. I hadn't thought of that, that some people maybe just scale down sessions and maybe that gives this career more longevity for those of us who aren't superhuman and want to do 120 appointments a week.
Let me tell you about a problem with that. And that a post that I saw literally a half hour before we started our podcast today. So you set a limit like that of, well, I want to be done by noon. Okay. And all of a sudden your reputation gets around. Well, he doesn't work past noon, so don't bother calling him.
But can that also be a good thing? More exclusive? No?
Can be.
I mean, in
But
the
when
long
you
term,
start,
if when you get a certain reputation, you're saying like in the beginning, right? Where it's, you probably want more availability.
yeah, you almost have to keep it a secret. Like, you do have to keep it a secret. I mean, sometimes I adjusted my hours depending on where my son was. When he was 5 years old, I had to alter my hours a little bit where I was working very, very early and very, very late. And I wanted to spend the afternoons with him. But I didn't tell the clients that. Well, I'm booked at that time, but let me give you a solution. How about coming in at this time? And
Got it.
we would negotiate for it. The post I saw this morning was it was like almost like a tribute to himself, where the trainer said, "Hey, listen, everybody, I'm really, really sorry, but I'm booked solid and I can't take on any more clients." It was a long post of reiterating how he can't take on any more. Period. I like long walks on the weekend, and I like my hobbies, and I like this, and my schedule is full.
Mhm.
Well, that message is going to get around, and the referrals are going to dry up, and people don't stay forever. So when business starts to drop off at some point, and it will, going back and changing your story to, well, I've got some openings. Yeah, but you said no to me for all that, for the last 2 years. So I found somebody else. It's a tough message. You got to be careful with it. So when people tell me, I only want to work 1 day a week and I want a full schedule, and that's an extreme example, of course. That's not a good, successful business, and it's going to bite you in the backside at some point. You got to be available. It's customer service. Got to be available to the
Right.
client, right? So I
Definitely.
never said, when my schedule filled up, I raised my rates, which made business better, and I made more money. So something to consider.
Worth just using this as a moment to say, I mentioned it about communities. I just want to let people know, if they're like, what communities? Well, you can join free community to help you start and grow your strength training business, school.com/HIB. You get access to myself, Pete, courses, community, people that are experts in strength training business. So that's school.com/HIB, not HIV, HIB. That sometimes happens.
with your,
Pete,
with your,
back to you.
with your accent. Yes. Okay.
If you can follow
Injuries and
that.
illness can hurt. Yeah. Injuries and illness can hurt your income just like an athlete. We're still comparing to, an NBA star. You don't know that you're not going to trip and fall and sprain your ankle and can't work for a week, a day, a weekend, a month, or how about, COVID, 3 months, 6 months. There's situations happen, as we have seen, and you have to be in a position to weather these. You and I, Lawrence, we both know of businesses that did not weather COVID, and they just went out of business. They couldn't recover from it. They couldn't survive. And we also know businesses that got through it, no problem. Not no problem, but they had a plan. They had plenty of finances, and we could stick this out. No problem. We'll get there. And we will profit from it. So you've got both sides of the story. Which side do you want to be on? I want to be on the no problem side. I got this. Yeah. It's, I want to be looking at my competitors saying, I'm going to have all your clients in a few months because I'll still be here. I can financially weather this storm. So that's what we're going to talk about next, really. The main point is, when you're young, strong, and making money in this business, that's the best time to build a backup plan. It's the backup plan that's going to get you through the tough times and support your business. My backup plan enabled me to retire from personal training at the age of 50. That was my choice. I also could have gone on at a half schedule, or I had so many options. It wasn't even funny.
So
But
here's a scenario for you. We do get a lot of people. In fact, I just had a gentleman, CPA, in his early 60s, wants to start a high intensity training business. This happens all the time, by the way. People have a career, they're close to retirement, or they're just older and they're kind of like jaded by the career and they want to do something they're passionate about. They also see the financial opportunity in a strength training business. So I don't want to dissuade them, those people, from getting into this, because I think it is a wonderful opportunity when executed correctly. I think it brings a lot of fulfillment and it can pay well. Um, I This kind of harks back to what we were talking about in our last podcast about having 100K investment, like what you would do with it. And again, not that everyone has this advantage, but if hopefully you were very uh, careful and safe well during your career, then hopefully you're coming into this from a position of strength, which is obviously ideal. I wouldn't want anyone coming into this taking huge risks, right? So anyway, my question is like, let's address that. Let's talk about those individuals that are older, had a career, and now they're transitioning into HIIT. They might be thinking, well, hang on, Pete, I do just want to work 2 or 3 days a week. I don't want a full schedule. And that's not what I signed up for. So what would you say to that?
those people, and I've met a few, are operating from a position of strength. Their former career put them in a position where they could retire. They've got plenty
It's
of
very
money.
common, actually. Yeah.
It is, and now they want to go into this new lifestyle and this business because they see the longevity factor. Okay, so I worked as a lawyer for all these years. I have my retirement. My house is paid off. Everything is good. I can write a check for whatever equipment and start it in my garage or lease them, whatever. They are operating from a position of strength, and this is exactly what I'm talking about for everybody else. You know, what a wonderful position to be in for your later years. You know, I can do this, or I don't have to do this. I'm going to do it at a discounted rate because I really want to pay it forward. They're strong. They don't need the money. So yeah, we're on the same page with this. And every time I do I meet somebody and we talk about their business, and they tell me they're in that position, I'm like, well, this is exactly how to build that business. You're operating from a position of strength. Why? You'll be like a magnet. People will come to you right away.
So just to clarify, because you're operating from a position of strength, in that context, one can have a more abbreviated schedule and do a lot less and make that work.
When you're in a position of strength, you can do anything you want. I chose retirement. You can work 1 or 2 days a week. You can work, we have a good friend that we talk to regularly that I think only works 2 days a week, right?
Which friend is this? Can you give me a
Ben.
hint?
Ben, I'm pretty sure Ben works only 2 days a week. He's at that point of his career and his business where and he'll tell everybody, that's it. This is all available. Yeah. And I love that. He is operating from a position of strength. He's got it all figured out. So let's talk about my backup plans and what I did to put myself in a really strong position. I mapped this out very, very early on. I got some great business advice from my dad, who's been my mentor for business and for life, of course. And I give him a lot of credit for pointing me in the right direction. He gave me some very simple things to do, which at the time, I have to admit, seemed a little ridiculous. But 30 years later, guess what? He was right. And I think that's the way a lot of us look at our dads, or, in that, are you sure about this? And then you look back later years and say, you know what? You were spot on. So the first thing I got was adequate insurance. And this sounds ridiculous, right? But I purchased business interruption insurance that I actually used once. Business interruption insurance is, and there's different variations of a policy like this. They are not expensive, but we had a power outage from a hurricane in New York City where we were shut down for pretty much a week.
Oh, wow.
And, I called my insurance agent up. I said, am I covered for this? He said, yes, you are. How much money did you lose every day? And you show your books. This is what I book every week. And I can't, because we have, the the water came over the wall and flooded lower Manhattan. And, there was a mess.
That doesn't happen very often, does it?
It does not happen every often, but guess what? They wrote me a monster sized check.
Question. You see here a lot. I mean, I think this is kind of happening over in California right now with the unfortunate, fires that have happened. Where is because a lot of these insurance companies are kind of, claiming this as an act of God. These types of events are acts of God. Does this particular type of insurance even cover for that? So can these insurance companies still not kind of wriggle out of these situations with the act of God kind of disclaimer?
Well, I had one insurance company, one policy that I did purchase, did wiggle out of their situation and challenged me with, go ahead and take us to court because it's going to cost you $100,000 in court fees for the $100,000 that you're looking for. And, it's going to be a wash. And that was the legal advice I got. Just like a lease or a business deal of any kind, you want to negotiate these insurance policies on the way in. You really want to clarify what you're looking for and get a good agent that can deliver. So I had good experiences and I had one bad experience with these things. As far as the good experiences go, I also had another policy that provided income and covered my expenses in the event that I got injured. And it could be, I tripped and fell on the sidewalk and I'm out for 3 weeks. Or here's a common one that we even know people about: hip replacements. I never had a hip replacement, but I thought about that down the road. Everybody seems to be getting hip replacements these days. It's very, very common. And the recovery period could be 2-3 months before I can train clients again. What do I do then? Does my business go under while I'm out of work? So I got a policy for that. And specifically put in it, what if I got a hip replacement? And it was covered. I would get my income.
Life insurance. I have life insurance and I have sickness cover or whatever they call it, whatever you're saying. I have that. It's such good peace of mind. Like especially if you have a family as well, right? And you just want to know that something happens to you, God forbid, die or sickness, have serious sickness, that you are covered and your family is covered. And I think I spend, obviously it's different. I'm sure it's very different in the US, but my policy here is about €55. I call that $60 per month. And
right.
I think that's completely worthwhile just for the peace of mind it provides. So that's super important. Yeah. To get that.
I think it's a ridiculously inexpensive investment. That's a no-brainer.
Yeah, I think mine is like $300K cover or something like that.
There you go. That's a very common policy.
I probably need to review that, but yeah.
Okay.
It's inexpensive to get quite high coverage. Yeah. Today's episode is sponsored by Imagine Strength, the game changer in safe, simple, and effective high-intensity training machines. When it comes to HIIT, Imagine Strength is your go-to for intelligently designed, efficient, and affordable equipment. Their team is passionate about HIIT, and it shows in every piece they craft. So why are Imagine Strength the right choice? Number one, they tailor-make their equipment for HIIT studios. Number two, they provide cost-effective solutions for your business. And number three, they are committed to ongoing innovation and refinement. Ready to take your HIIT business to the next level? Visit imaginestrength.com to discuss your needs and find the perfect gear for your studio. Join the HIIT revolution of Imagine Strength and transform your workout experience today. Let's go.
As we talk about that specific type of policy, I purchased myself a very similar policy. It was a life insurance policy that accumulated a cash value over the years. So, and this policy is still in effect. If I were to die today, my son would get a nice big check, quite a lot of money to go towards his lifestyle.
And
right?
also if you're, I'm thinking of the younger people also that are listening to this. If you start early, it's less expensive later. And like you said, if there's an accumulator, it will like compound almost, and there'll be a greater payout. So it does make sense to start this as soon as possible. Like a lot of the things we're talking about, you talk about index funds and mutual funds in a minute, which is the same deal.
Right. I started this particular policy when my son was born. As soon as you see a baby, you're like, okay, guess what? got to start saving for college, and I need a life insurance policy for him. But I purchased one that would be a benefit to me and my business along the way. So if I don't die, I've got a mountain of cash that I can actually take loans against and pay myself back at an interest rate, and it increases the value of the policy. And I've done that. I purchased Medex equipment once and wrote myself a check and financed it myself and paid myself back using this policy, which if I died during this event, my son still would have got all his money.
Right.
So really, there's great policies out there. And yeah, they don't cost much. When you start them at 30 years old or in your 30s, they're very, very inexpensive. If I were to try to start one today at 61, they're going to charge me $1,000 a month. I don't know. I'm making that up. But you know what I'm saying. It's going to be a lot, right? At 30 years old and you're healthy and you work out, yeah, it's $55 or 55 pounds. So yeah, very inexpensive. Definitely look into it. The cash value that I accumulated with my life insurance policy for my son has been a wonderful business asset for me over the years. So peace of mind and a great tool.
Help me understand that. Sorry, how it's been a business asset for you?
So I have quite a lot of money accumulated as at value. Really might count. I can cancel the policy tomorrow and say there's no death benefit for my son. Give me all my cash back, and they will.
Oh, I see.
Okay. What if I'm 61 now? What if at 75 years old, I decide that, well, he's got enough money and he's set. I don't need to give him a death benefit on this policy. I can cancel the policy then and take all the cash that's accumulated, which is going to be quite a lot.
Does that mean you've been contributing to it over time as well, so that it
every
accumulates?
single month?
Oh, you have been. Okay. So it's not just paying for a policy, you're actually paying extra to invest in it.
Yes.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a great policy. It's a great life insurance policy. And you can request this from your insurance agent. Hey, I want one with cash value that accumulates throughout the life of the policy.
Yeah. We're not that sophisticated here over in Ireland, perhaps. Or maybe I just need to look harder.
Or maybe he's just never asked. Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting.
Next up is I developed a financial portfolio that was divided up into 4 categories. The first category, well, I'm going to just rattle off the 4 categories. The mutual funds was something my dad taught me to get into very quickly. Real estate was something that I had an interest and a passion for and still do. A side hustle, which it wasn't called a side hustle way back when. And then high risk investments.
It's very millennial of you.
It is very millennial. A side hustle. Okay. It was a side project, side business. And then high risk investments. And high risk investments, my dad told me, should be a very small part of your portfolio because it's gambling and you can lose just as easily as you can win. So mine was, I broke these 4 things up into 25% a piece in my portfolio. Let me tell you about the mutual funds first. I am not, I'm not a financial trader. I don't know very much about the subject. I'm not a day trader, but mutual funds are a collection of stocks, run by a fund manager. The one that I picked early on was the Vanguard 500 fund. The symbol for that is VOO. And it was a collection of the top 500 stocks in the Vanguard portfolio, and it rotated. If you weren't in the top 500, the fund manager sold that stock and purchased the new one. He took care of all of that. I don't have to. I just purchased the fund. I started, but my father told me buy 1 share a week and look to purchase it on Fridays. Why, Dad? Because on Friday, there seems to be a big sell-off every week. People want to get their cash out, and it's good. The fund's going to go down in price, maybe even $1 or $2, but you'll get it at a better price versus Mondays. And in general, that works. So I set up an E-Trade account, which was not called E-Trade back then. It was called ING Direct. That's how far back this goes. And I set up my account to purchase 1 share per week. Every Friday morning when the market opened up, automatically I purchased a share.
Got it. So these days, there are pretty advanced platforms where you invest money and then they resource allocate on your behalf. Stocks, shares, precious metals, currencies, globally, right? Index funds.
Yes.
Great book on this for anyone who's interested that I read last year, Simple Path to Wealth by J.L. Collins. It's essentially all about index funds and the magic of compound interest over the long term. But one thing you said, which I really like, is you weren't trying to time the market. Like, okay, you kind of were on an acute level in terms of it being on Friday, but they've kind of shown that no one can really time the market. And it's just about being consistent in the market, like over the long term and investing regularly, exactly like you described, right?
Right.
I mean, even Warren Buffett says to like 99.9% of people, stop trying to be a trader, stop trying to time it. Just put money away every month into an index fund and watch it grow. But even people are so bad at long-term planning. And I've only got really much better at this over the last few years. And they want to see that short-term win, hence why people get into your high-risk investment strategy more, right? But the amount you can make if you put away just a reasonable amount every month is staggering over like 20, 30 years. And obviously it's exponential, right? It's like,
it is exponential. I'm going to give you some exact numbers. So the first share I bought of this Vanguard 500 fund was $118 a share. And it was a very reasonable amount of money for me to invest once a week. I purchased one share a week. And I'm still doing it, by the way. And this is about 20, it wasn't Vanguard before I switched over to Vanguard, but it was a 500 fund. And the share I bought last Friday, and I purchased another one this morning, was $540. Okay, so add that up for 25 years, one share a week. First one was $118. I've got X amount of shares times 25 years, 25 times 52. Buy them every Friday, just buy one share. Okay, so that's going well. That was great advice. And you know what? My dad probably did get this method from Warren Buffett, because that's exactly one of the things Warren did. He has a term for it, which escapes me at the moment, but yes, just buy consistently. And dollar cost
average. Yeah, that's that.
Yeah.
We're going to have to record a big financial disclaimer at the start of this podcast. I've just realized.
That's right. I'm not Warren Buffett and I don't give advice.
This is not financial advice. This is for informational purposes only.
I'm just sharing my story. So that worked out very well. So the insurance policy and the mutual funds, it's slow, it's consistent. It creates a great amount of value. It's not a lot of money. It should be within your budget very closely. You can also these days purchase, let's say you don't want to purchase one share per week, but you have a dollar amount you'd like to invest. What it's $50? They will purchase, like an E-Trade account will purchase what percentage of that share, which you can't do at your normal bank. So another very interesting, so you could stay within your budget. So this is doable for anybody. Next thing is real estate. This is something I was interested in from 18 years old, believe it or not. I told my dad that, hey, I want to buy a rental property. I think this is really cool. And I did. I purchased my first rental property, my first piece of real estate at 19 years old. It was $52,500. I got a great financing deal on it. It was in New Jersey. I broke even on the rent. The rent covered my mortgage and my expenses almost to the dollar. And it was a little nerve wracking because I wasn't making very much back then. So if I lost a tenant for a month, I was going to be in tough shape. Fortunately, I got lucky and I didn't. When the property appreciated from 52.5 to 62.5, I sold it, took the profit, rolled it into the next property. So I've been doing that since 19 years old. I used, it wasn't called this now, but it's called the BRRR, or the BRRR method, which is buy, rehab, rent, refinance, and repeat. It's very common, a lot of YouTube channels about this. I do this now. I'll purchase a distressed property. I'll put money into it and rehab it, make it worth more instantly. I'll rent it out for a few years. After a 2 or 4 year lease, the property is now worth significantly more and shows a rental income. And I put it on the market and I sell it. I take my profit. I take the profits from the rent and I roll it into the next property and we go up again. So this is something I was fascinated with as a kid, as well as my personal training business. And it's served me well over the years. It's 25% of my portfolio. Next up is a side hustle. This is the millennial thing that we were just talking about. So I have a few side hustles. My side hustles didn't come around until later in my career. I really couldn't be bothered with anything else.
Can I just underscore what you just said there? Because I had an objection to this when I was reading this, is I think it's extremely important not to have side hustles when you're really focusing on your personal training business in the beginning.
Yes.
Key point there, you said it came much later after you'd already built up a successful personal training business. Because I just think focus, I mean, we all know so many people who are spread across so many things, they never achieve anything. And just being focused on one thing, like obsessively, is, I believe, the way for most of us to be successful. So, yes,
you are 100% correct. We're on the same page. And anytime I was approached with, hey, Pete, we got this. As a matter of fact, I'll tell you how early on in my career, when I was struggling and trying to figure out my personal training business in the 80s, somebody came by and said, hey, listen, I see what you're doing over here. How would you like a little supplemental income to help your business? Well, yeah, you got my attention because I really want to make this work and I'm dying. I'm failing at it. Personal training in the 80s was a tough business. Actually, it was a non-existent business. If you wanted to go broke fast, open a gym or become a personal trainer in the 80s. That's just my experience. Now, I'm sure there's some people that were successful at it. Anyway, while I was getting my butt handed to me, this person said, I've got a way to find, what a great sales pitch. I got a great supplement your income over here and take your training business and your gym business to the next level. Tell me. It was Amway. I went to the guy's house. I heard the whole speech. And then I'm like, no. I've got to focus on what I'm focusing on. I'm failing at it now, but this is not the answer. Because I don't have any passion for any like toilet paper and cleaning supplies. It's just, no. Even though I use those things in my business, I didn't want my clients to see Amway products in my business. I knew that was I would go from failure to really good failure. So I would increase my failure rate. So I focused. Now, years later, I am operating from a position of strength. I am strong. My mutual funds program is doing really, really well. My real estate is doing really, really well. Both of those things alone put me in a position where I don't need any more clients. As a matter of fact, I can do less. I was really heading in the right direction. That's when my wife sat me down and said, hey, I've got this side hustle. And I want to run it by you. Well, try saying no to your wife. Yes. I've said no to hundreds of people over the years during my career, whether it was good or bad. My career at one point was very, very bad. And then when it became very good, of course, you get even more solicitations. And it was very easy. No, this is what I do. I'm a trainer. I do high intensity, blah, 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 boom, get out. I can shut you down real quick. But when your wife sits you down and says, hey, I got this idea, let's talk about it. The next two words out of your mouth are, yes, dear. So she ran it by me. Her idea was Isogenics. Many of you may have heard of it. It's a health and wellness company. They do cleansing and they do protein supplements and other products. They had a very limited and short list of products back when she pitched it to me. The company was relatively new. It was just on an upswing. I had never heard of it. And right away I said, listen, honey, there's certain things I'm 1000% against. If there's any soy products or any soy in any of these products, I'm sorry, but it's a hard no. Well, actually they believe the same thing, Pete, and there is no soy in their products. And I'm like, okay. So she cleared that hurdle. We kept going on. I said no along the way a few times until she convinced me we're going to try this. I said, great. Well, we went 7 figures on that business and it went well. Thanks to her. She did a lot of the work, but it was a great side hustle and it worked out well. this does not work out well for many people. There's more people that fail at this than succeed. She asked me for a simple business formula on how to make this work. And I thought about it for weeks, came back to her and I said, this is how I could do this. And it has to kind of mirror my personal training business. But if we focus on it this way, I can get on board. We can do this. We have nothing to risk and everything to gain. So if it fails next month, I don't care. How's that sound? And she said, okay, agreed. And it went on and it would turn out to be successful. Great. That's not the only side hustle. I have more. You ready about this, Lawrence?
Yeah, just quickly, I just want to add that there's a misconception, isn't there, that a lot of people hear the hear that cliche, you have to have 7 streams of income. Later, yes, but right now, if you're just starting, no. Almost all the people that have 7 streams of income had one very big stream of income that then created 7 streams of income: property, mutual funds, businesses, angel investments, whatever, that then create those different streams. So just wanted to share my point of view on that. But please proceed.
Well, you're confirming what we just talked about from the very beginning. I'm always operating from a position of strength. At the time my wife approached me about this, I'm doing well into my 7-figure personal training business.
Right.
It's going great. So for me, it was, it's the attitude, right? Yeah, sure, honey, we can try this. If it fails next week, we don't care. It's the pennies we have to invest into this is nothing. And that's the attitude. And when we're soliciting for business, I'm soliciting as not a person who needs money.
Right.
Which, believe me, when I tell you, when that's your sales pitch, it's received differently. If you call somebody up and say, hey, listen, I'm behind on the mortgage. I haven't made the electric bill payment. I've got this multi-level marketing company that I'm getting involved with, and I need you to sign up for it with me. Well, that's a hard no right away. Get away from me. I don't want to hear about your problems. I'm like, listen, I'm really successful over here, and I'm thinking about becoming really successful over here. I got a pretty good shot at it. You want to come along for the ride? And I got a lot more yeses that way. Again, no matter what, operate from a position of strength. That means your hit business is doing really well right now.
Yeah.
Right.
Just quickly, we want to wrap up like ASAP, but just if we could just get through the rest as quick as we can, maybe abbreviate some of it.
Books were a side hustle for me, which is, you know what? These days, almost anybody can write something and publish it and get it on Amazon. It's great advertising for your business. It could be great extra money. Either way, it will benefit you if it's a decent product. It's got to be a decent product, just like your business has to be a decent product. Speaking of engagements was another side hustle for me. I never saw it coming. It was presented to me, worked out very well. Again, if you can get up in front of an audience, even if you don't get paid for it, it will advertise your hit business and if it doesn't become another stream of income, it will enhance your hit business. I encourage that. Last but not least, this high risk investments was 25% of my portfolio, actually a little bit less, but I got involved in cryptocurrency very early on when it was like a ridiculous conversation. My brother got me into it. And that worked out well on some and went nowhere with others, but it was such a small percentage of money in my portfolio. It was, again, if it fails, I just pissed away a little bit of money. And if it succeeds, good for me. So again, always operating in a position of strength, no matter what category you're doing, but especially from your personal training business.
Awesome. Any final thoughts?
I really encourage people to think ahead. It's really difficult to think 10 years down the road, but some of these things, just like a basic insurance policy and a mutual fund investment that's sound, that's proven, that has a great track record, or just a savings account. Stick $100 a week into a savings account. It could be that simple. This is going to pay you off down the road. Yeah. It's going to pay off big. You're going to have a little money for you and your family, and it shouldn't be overlooked. So that's the main message today.
Yeah. One of the things that I just want to mention, which makes a lot of this possible, is lifestyle. I just do not spend money. And it just seems to me that like the people that it's not even about necessarily how much money you make. It's having the biggest gap between how much you earn and how much you spend. Right. And it's like, just for me personally, I've realized that I don't need a lot of things to make me happy. And I actually get more fulfillment knowing that I'm getting closer to my goals and have more peace of mind and security in terms of savings and things like that, especially now that I have obviously a young family. So I think the real hack is to realize you probably don't need a lot of stuff and things, and create that, make as much as you can, pursue your goals, and then make your burn as low as possible so that you can invest in your future and operate from a position of strength sooner. That's what I want to just say, just to tie a bow on this thing or put a bow on it. Pete, I guess best place for people to connect with you and learn more from you would be our school community, skool.com/HIB. It'll be on the screen. There's also a course in there and help you get leads very quickly for your strength training business. There's also community courses, loads of value, make your life a lot easier starting and growing your business. Pete, thank you so much for doing this. As always, it's so much fun. And lastly, this is Lawrence with High Intensity Business. Thank you very much for listening. This episode is brought to you by Imagine Strength, your go-to for safe, simple, and effective high-intensity training equipment. Growing a successful high-intensity training business requires workout equipment that's not only high quality, but also intelligently designed to fit the unique needs of your studio. And that's where Imagine Strength comes in. Drawing on the wisdom of the legendary Arthur Jones, Imagine Strength has crafted a groundbreaking line of fitness equipment that's as affordable as it is efficient, giving your studio the upgrade it needs without breaking the bank. The team at Imagine Strength breathes HIIT. Their passion for high-intensity training shines through in their designs, which they've consistently refined and innovated for optimum effectiveness and user experience. From my personal experience at Rec, I can attest to the careful consideration and craftsmanship that goes into every single piece. My Imagine Strength workout was absolutely brutal, in a good way, of course. Now, what makes Imagine Strength truly stand out? They have innovative equipment tailored for the unique needs of HIIT studios, affordable and efficient designs, lowering the barriers to entry for a HIIT business, continuous innovation and refinement, ensuring your studio stays ahead of the curve. Founder Jeff Turner and his team are dedicated to moving the HIIT industry forward and making strength training accessible to more people than ever before. Here's how you get started. Number 1, visit imaginestrength.com. Number 2, discuss your specific needs with the team. And number 3, select the equipment that will propel your business to the next level. Head to imaginestrength.com today and give your HIIT business the Imagine Strength edge. Be part of the HIIT revolution and see firsthand how their unique equipment can transform your studio's workout experience. Elevate your HIIT business with Imagine Strength.
Let's go.